In recent times, many of us have noticed a growing difficulty in maintaining focus. It is common to pick up a phone for a quick notification check only to lose 30 minutes to mindless browsing, or to sit down for study and work only to find the mind wandering to 1,000 different places. If this happens to you, it does not necessarily mean you have ADHD. Rather, it is a symptom of living in a world saturated with stimuli. We are constantly bombarded by notifications, videos, and news that steal our attention like water escaping from a leaky bucket. While our ancestors relied on a fragmented attention span to scan their surroundings for danger and stay alive, this trait is now detrimental to our productivity. Research from the University of California suggests that it takes an average of 23 minutes to regain full focus after a single interruption. When you multiply that by every phone check or task switch, the loss of potential is staggering. However, there is a way to hack this cycle by training the brain to ignore distractions and immerse itself deeply in a single task. This concept is not a modern marketing invention, but an ancient Japanese practice known as Ichigyo-Zammai. Rooted in Japanese Buddhism, it emphasizes the practice of doing one thing at a time with complete, present attention. Before diving deeper into this philosophy, I want to express my sincere gratitude to our new channel members and everyone who likes, comments on, and shares our content. You are an essential part of this channel's history. I would also love to hear from you in the comments. What is your biggest distraction today? Is it your phone, social media, or your own wandering mind? To understand how this technique works in practice, let's look at the story of Jake Morrison. At 16 years old, Jake felt like he was losing the race of life. Though he was a capable student who understood complex subjects like physics and programming, he simply could not concentrate. Instead of studying, he would find himself scrolling through Instagram, daydreaming about working at Google or checking sports scores. Jake had a massive dream of attending MIT, the world-renowned institute where geniuses are made, but his grades were stuck in a mediocre range of CS and BS. His friends teased him, suggesting he would end up flipping burgers instead of becoming a software engineer. Those jokes stung like a punch to the stomach. While his parents pressured him to try harder because they saw his potential, Jake felt sabotaged by his own mind. He spent more time imagining his future graduation ceremony than actually opening his math books. After failing a calculus exam, Jake reached a breaking point and decided to seek help from his mathematics teacher, Mr. Tanaka. Mr. Tanaka was a man of Japanese origin who possessed a calm, focused presence that commanded respect without the need for shouting. When Jake confessed his struggles with focus and the cycle of distraction, Mr. Tanaka smiled with the recognition of someone who had been there before. He asked Jake how many tabs he kept open on his computer and where his phone was during study sessions. When Jake admitted to having 10 tabs open and his phone buzzing nearby, Mr. Tanaka revealed that he had faced the same struggles in his youth in Japan. He introduced Jake to the concept of Ichigyo-Zammai, explaining it as the practice of becoming one with the action you are performing. He explained that when you study math, you should not be Jake studying math. You should become the mathematics itself, removing the separation between the observer and the task. Mr. Tanaka likened this to the flow state often experienced during video games, where hours pass unnoticed because of total immersion. He explained that neuroscience supports this, showing that practicing focused attention increases the density of the prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain responsible for control. He provided Jake with materials that combined this Zen philosophy with behavioral neuroscience techniques. That night, Jake stayed up reading about how every distraction forces the brain to expend energy to reboot. He learned about the Pomodoro technique, mindful breaks without digital stimulation, and choice architecture, modifying one's environment to make distraction impossible. He realized that Ichigyo-Zammai is about a total union between the person and the action, summarized by the Zen saying, "When I eat, I eat. When I sleep, I sleep." This stands in stark contrast to our modern culture, where we often eat while thinking of work or lie in bed reflecting on problems. In a world that prizes the ability to do 1,000 things at once, the concept of Ichigyo-Zammai stands as a radical and necessary opposite. This philosophy teaches that when we fragment our attention, we are never truly present in any single activity, causing our experiences to become superficial. To master this, a practitioner must learn that when distraction arises, they should not react with guilt or frustration. Instead, they simply acknowledge that the mind has wandered and gently return their focus to the current activity. It is a constant, deliberate practice of bringing the mind back to the center. For a young student named Jake, learning this was a turning point. He realized he wasn't weak or lazy. He simply had never been taught how to use his attention correctly. This realization sparked a decision that would change his life forever. The following Monday, Jake began a new ritual to reclaim his focus. He put his cell phone in a drawer in another room, turned off all computer notifications, and closed every browser tab except for his study materials. He set a timer for 25 minutes and took 3 deep breaths. The first 5 minutes were grueling. His mind screamed for him to check his phone or open YouTube. However, remembering what he had learned, he didn't fight the distraction. He observed it, acknowledged that his mind wanted to wander, and brought his attention back. In that first session, he had to do this 10 times, but by the second block, the distractions decreased. By the third, he entered a state of concentration so deep he lost track of time. He had accomplished more in 75 minutes than he usually did in a week, feeling a surge of power and control he had never known. Jake maintained this ritual every day, and soon the philosophy of Ichigyo-Zammai began to bleed into his entire life. He stopped watching videos while eating to focus on his food. He became fully present during conversations, and he paid attention to the sights and sounds on his walk to school. He realized he had been living his life on autopilot, but now he was finally awake. While his friends didn't understand his new intensity, Jake didn't care because he was finally building the future he wanted rather than just dreaming about it. The results were undeniable. He aced his math exams and saw a total transformation in his grades across physics, chemistry, and programming. He learned that discipline isn't about raw willpower. It's about creating systems and environments that make it impossible to fail. This journey eventually led Jake to MIT, where his mastery of attention gave him a significant advantage over students who struggled with procrastination and anxiety. Even in a high-pressure environment, he stayed consistent with his ritual. He understood that while talent is important, attention is true power. He graduated with honors and rose through the ranks of a technology company to become a team leader by age 28. His secret was simple. He wasn't smarter than anyone else. He had just learned to eliminate distractions and be present one thing at a time. This isn't just motivational talk. It is backed by neuroscience. Studies from Harvard and Stanford show that mindfulness practices like Ichigyo-Zammai increase gray matter in the prefrontal cortex and shut down the brain distraction center, effectively rewiring the brain for focus. Ultimately, the story of Jake and the practice of Ichigyo-Zammai is about more than just productivity. It is about the essence of living. Most people let life pass them by while they are distracted by their phones or their thoughts, never truly tasting their food or hearing their loved ones. By learning to direct our attention, we step out of the matrix of autopilot and experience the world with more depth, happiness, and satisfaction. Success does not come from having more resources or more time. It comes from being more present in the moments we already have. As Jake's transformation proves, if you can dominate your attention, you can control your life and build the future you desire, one focused moment at a time.